Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Between Two Keepstars. I'm your host, Riker, aka Karama, and this gonna be one epic show. Actually, come to think about it, why the fuck am I doing the intro? Dex, you're up.
Hello. Apparently, I'm doing some introductions here, but welcome everyone. This is as Riker says, Between Two Keepstars. It's going to be quite a terrible show because I'm the main host, so don't set your expectations very high right now. There were going to be a lot of swearing and they're really hard to understand the accent. So prepare yourselves. But we've got our usual arrangement this week. We have Riker. If you didn't hear him, hi Riker, how are you?
I'm doing good. Also, apparently Karmen and Jell is in public voice. Did you ask him if he wanted to come on the show?
I did not. He just decided to join us. He brought it upon himself.
Oh, you want to go up there and ask him if he wants to be on the show while I distract people?
Yeah, go for it, man.
All right. So, yeah, how are you guys doing? This is totally not. Yeah, so things happened in Eve recently. I have no idea what's happened, but oh, hey, look, Dex is back.
Go for it.
Huh?
Go drag him down, man. We'll get him involved. We'll introduce him.
So this week, actually, why am I doing this? Dex, introduce people.
So this week we have, and we'll put a mic. We're getting complaints already. Not even started the bloody show yet. We have Dr. Spod. Hello, Dr. Spod. He's a pretend developer. But hello, how are you?
Excuse me.
No, but we have Dr. Spot, we have Gergurun Musa, or Gerg.
Good afternoon.
And we have Karmen Jell. Hi, Karmen. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, thanks.
And he come on here complaining that he has no idea what this show is about, so he's in good company for that, I suppose.
I was about to say, I'm the creator, and I have no idea what this show's about.
So you're in good company, Karmen, but welcome. So I think I'll pick on you to begin with. What is your what do you usually do in game when you're not here?
What do I do in game? So I'm a military director in Tust. I'm one of the main FCs.
Well, I suppose the better description is it makes him tell us a little bit more about yourself.
I might have to give you some context for that. Like, what do you want to know?
Well,
I was about to say, Dex, he was literally doing that.
It was, yeah. All right, okay. But go ahead, Carmen. Tell us what you do in game when you're not here.
Yeah, so I'm a military director in Test. I'm one of the Alliance's main FCs.
Tell us a little bit more. Come on. That wasn't very good, Carmen. We need to tell us more.
I mean, what do you want to know? Like, tell me. Ask me some questions.
What have you recently been up to?
Like most recently, I've been scooping a lot of Keepstars. That's basically been my main job for like the last 2 or 3 weeks. Has been unanchoring and scooping most of the Keepstars that Test had in the southeast regions, like around like Catch and Asteria, Stain, that kind of area.
Fair enough, man. That's quite a nerve-wracking experience, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think we've scooped about 14 Keepstars at this point, and we've had 100% success rate on any timer that like actually got to unanchor. So had a couple of close calls, but it's been pretty exciting.
Are you the reason why some of my stuff that, granted, didn't make it home?
Probably.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm not gonna lie, after that first initial evacuation, I was like, okay, I'm done. But then I saw smaller cats, and it's like, my thing will be fine in no mash. And then I logged on today, and the Keepstar's gone, and my stuff's in asset safety.
Yeah, so we try to provide, pretty clear directions on where people needed to move their stuff to and when. But realistically, we can't broadcast to the Alliance what day the Keepstars are going to become unanchored, right? It's an OPSEC thing, so... there's always someone who's going to be caught out, right? And that's unfortunately just how it's going to be if we want to have secure information about when that stuff's going to happen.
Yeah, Carmen, the reason why my stuff's in asset safety is because I didn't move it. Like, I am fully like there were multiple times. Granted, it's only one Archon, so I feel happy that that's all I've lost, especially considering. So, Karmen, this is a personal question, and I just got a message saying that I should ask other questions, which are probably more journalistic, but I'm not a. I don't know what I'm saying. Karmen, I started off this war with 1 cap and I ended up with 5. I'm kind of curious. How many did you end up with? Just a personal question.
I'm not even sure, to be honest with you. I mean, I probably started off with about maybe like 8 regular capitals, and I think I have roughly the same amount now as when I started. And a bunch of them died, obviously, and they got SRP'd and replaced, right? Like, I lost 2 Titans, they both got replaced, lost a bunch of Dreads and Faxes and stuff, they all got replaced, but for the most part, it's basically the same amount as when I started.
Did you partake in any of the fire sales when they happened?
I didn't partake in any fire sales, but I did actually end up with more than when I started, because there was a couple of people who ended up out of the blue. I had a couple of people send me Eve mails that they were just basically quitting the game, winning Eve kind of thing, and they were just leaving me like some of their stuff. So I obtained a few capitals from that, but that's pretty much it.
Now on to the more journalistic question. So you're a Milder in test, correct?
That is correct, yes.
So my question to you would be, how is it? So I just received this message saying that apparently Villy is no longer at the helm. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah. Okay. Well, how do I frame this? So Villy's kind of not really been around very much at all for quite a long time now, like probably 6 months or more than 6 months. A large part of that is due to he has had some changes in his kind of like real life situation with his job and stuff. That means he's not able to dedicate very much time to Eve anymore. But also, like my understanding is that with his job, he's basically on call like 24/7. So he just might have to drop anything he's doing at any time. So that's why he's not really been running fleets and stuff like that. But yeah, it's pretty much been for a long time. He's not really been around, very much at all. It's been other people kind of running the show and test for a good 6 months or so. And he kind of recently put out a forum post on the test forums, which was just saying that he was taking a step back from the kind of military leadership role, and he was going to allow other people to have some space to kind of like grow in their roles and take on that responsibility that he previously had.
All right, yeah, that definitely makes sense. So I'm guessing Pro God's still there as well, or I hope so.
Oh, yeah, Progod's still around. He's still super active. I was chatting to him like before I came on a show, like 5 minutes ago.
So he's all settling in your new place, Outer Passage, is it not?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Obviously, there's a bunch of things we're still waiting for because we just took the Sov. Like we're waiting for the iHub, the Sov upgrades to come in for like sounding beacons and jump bridges and that kind of stuff. But it's going pretty okay so far. People are settling in all right.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to getting to shoot you guys soon, but not yet. Need to give you a bit of time to get used to your new home.
I mean, we're all there now, and as expected, there's been a bunch of whaling fleets, and it's just it goes how it goes, right?
Exactly, man. Exactly. So I suppose we could get to the most dramatic news this week. The faction titans. It was big news, I believe. Please feel free to prove me wrong, but yeah, there was some rumours. A Vanquisher and a Moloch last night died. Could you, Gerg, could you enlighten us a little bit more, because there's some arguments and some conflicting information. There was on one side there was Doc Workers who were arguing that they tried to bait a fight for maybe 2-3 months, and then there was, I believe her name is the person's name is Alana. I don't know the finer details, but it was just a case of YOLOing because they had become because they'd become kind of station ornaments. Could you enlighten us a little bit more?
Yeah, the Titans belong to Alana Co., who is in Baltram's alliance for the past month after about a year and a half in Pandemic Legion. And they had a fight over an Athenor, which Baltram's alliance had a fight over an Athenor with dockworkers on the other side. And obviously, it didn't go as well as they probably would have liked.
So the whole YOLO claim was not true then.
I'm not sure.
Karmen, do you know much else about this? Because it was pretty dramatic news, to be fair.
I know absolutely nothing about this. I just got it linked to me and saw a couple of kill mails and battle reports.
Yeah, as soon as the Moloch kill mail got pinged out in the killboard relay that I use, I recognize that as the corp that Alana's in, and since I know that he has a few expensive ships, I checked the corp history of the character, and it matched up with Alana's corp history, so I pinged him and asked for what happened, and didn't really get much beyond what I've said.
I know there is a video somewhere as well, I believe. It's a time-lapse video of the actual fight that took place. So if you feel free to share that in chat if you have that available to you. But Spod, what have you been up to? We haven't heard from you in a while. Obviously, you hold a very poor calendar as well, considering how late you are.
Excuse me.
Sorry, I had been waiting to do that joke I'd been waiting to do that joke for like 10 minutes there.
You've been not very nice to me today.
No,
I come in out of semi-retirement to fill your show, and you say horrible things.
I know it's my version of being nice to you, man. But what have you been up to, mate? What's been the chat these days?
If you really want to know, I went on holiday. No, I had around the time the CSM elections ended, I changed job because the previous job was too stressful, and went straight into a new job that was also stressful.
Mm-hmm.
And then the predictable happened, and I had to take time off.
Right.
I included time off everything that generates stress, which includes staring at space nerds.
Right. Okay. So something gave way, and you had to take some time off. Well, I'm glad you're still with us, but and you're still sane. That's for sure.
Yeah, finally get my mojo back. I've got some ESI projects that one day can go out to the public in the works.
You
Don't know
tell
how
us a little.
interested you'll be in, but I'm hoping to sometime the next 6 months release the first what I believe is going to be the first publicly accessible market site, which will have what's called intraday data.
Mm-hmm.
I know it sounds like a bunch of nerd shit, but basically, pretty much every single market history site out there is missing the actual the live data. So you can look at like what was it on Tuesday, what was it on Wednesday, what was it on Thursday, what was the min, max, and average price and volume for that day. But you can't go beyond an entire day. So what I'm hoping to introduce is potentially down to the 5-minute resolution. So you can look at the price throughout the day every 5 minutes. Which sounds like a whole bunch of boring nerd shit, but the end result of that is it will hopefully enable a kind of trading that's been missing from the game, or at least been very inaccessible to the game. Like the people that you'd buy Plex at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then you'd sell it at 11, and then buy it again at 1:30. That high speed trading is something that's been for a while, because there's just not been any tools to enable it. So it's something that I've been chasing for a while. That's what I've been working on.
Do you believe that it is an achievable thing? Is that something that do you think it's going to happen?
Oh yeah, it's achievable. I've got it working. It's just not in a presentable form, but that data does exist and it does work, and it is reasonably reliable.
Oh,
And the next level of playing with that is when I start downloading a bunch of machine learning libraries and try and predict the future, which is just going to be a bunch of, I mean, it's about as accurate as taking 2 twigs and trying to find water, but it's a bit of fun.
well, it's my job to make it to make myself sound interested, despite how little interest I have in development. I know. It's only wind up. Although on that note, Karmen, I believe you also mentioned that there is Eve London happening soon. Where last time Eve London happened before the plague, we all went to, I think it was the O2 Arena, where I was. I wandered about London, and every place that I went, people said to me, "I like your accent." So the first time it was said to me, I was, yes, that was very nice. But about the 7th time, it became annoying. But we went to O2 Arena, and it was a proper CCP official kind of tour. But it's happening again. What is it? The 6th of November, Carmen?
It is the 6th of November, but I don't think it's like a CCP sanctioned event. It's not run by them. It's one of these kind of smaller community run ones. It's not EVE-NT, but it's similar to like the EVE-NT meets that they used to do in London, I believe.
Yeah, 6th of November. So we're going to the Oyster Shed, which will be obscenely expensive again. But I was a student at the time, so people said £6 a pint, which is just unheard of in Glasgow. But apparently that's a regular. Thing.
Yeah, I used to live in London for a few years, and that's pretty much just normal prices in London.
I was offended by that. So I was like, pint of Bex, please, £6. How fucking dare you?
Welcome to London, pal.
I know. I'll be. I've got travel arrangements in place and all that, so I'll certainly be there. Spud, are you? Will you be joining us as well?
Considering it, but ironically, the biggest problem for me is not the price of beer, but the actual price of fucking getting there.
What?
Well, for me, if I want to go to Eve London, I've got to pay 80 quid for a train, and the return train is at 9 in the morning. And so the only way to make that less of a pain in the arse, I've got to then stay over, which is another at least 100 quid in London. Like I'm not up. Well, I like space nerds, but I'm not spending 200 quid to hang out with a bunch of drunk ones.
Yeah.
So my current backup plan is I'm trying to find some people to carpool. While driving's horrible there. A little public plug. If anyone's coming down from the Midlands and is willing to split fuel, let me know. If I can
carry on, Spud.
I said if I can get enough people to split it, then I'll do it. But if I can't find anybody to share the cost, I'm afraid I'm not going to be going.
I know that there's 1 or 2 people from Test who are coming from the Midlands, so I'll try and put you in touch, but I think one of them might have messaged you already. But yeah, one of the things I will say is I went to the last Eve London, and it was like amazing. Like it far surpassed my expectations of going to like a big Eve event. It's like an official thing. It was super good. So if it's even close to how good that one was, I'm really excited to be going to the next one as well.
Was it the one I was talking about, Carmen? Yeah.
Yeah, the world tour one they did in the O2 Arena was like just amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty good, and people wandering about dressed as dinosaurs and things like that. It was quite amusing. And people getting extremely drunk on 2 pints of beer and stuff like that. It was very funny. Yes, thank you, Brisk. Such a racist. He was complaining that he doesn't understand me, which is usually the case. But yeah, that's something for chat as well. If anyone else is going to Eve London, Spod is looking for a drive because he doesn't like paying money for things. So.
Well, I need to do the drive-in. I just need to fill the seats so it doesn't cost too much.
But Georg, is there anything else been happening this week? Because I'm usually not paying attention to the big news.
Well, on Thursday evening, over in Talking Stations, we had an interesting interview with Amar role players about a major event in the role-playing community, in which actually the oldest corp in the game that's still around and still active, merged into one of the other major Amar role-playing groups that joined their alliance.
All right. Okay. What brought that about? Yeah. Who was? Give me names here, Gab.
The corporation that's the oldest still active corporation in the game is Pi, some Latin-sounding acronym. The Guardians of the Empire or something is what it means.
I'll be talking Care Bears here.
They've been in faction warfare for most of the time since faction warfare has existed, and well, they're one of the more hardcore roleplay groups, but they're also rather generally capable at fighting.
Sounds good. Could you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I'm completely oblivious to the old school. So let us know what you know about this.
Well, they left faction warfare and had a merger with Kimi Harar, which is a long-time Amar roleplay alliance. And well, part of that is they said that part of that is because with high-sec war deck mechanics since the 2019 change, it's been harder to work together in high-sec without being in the same alliance.
Uh-huh.
And part of that seems to be because faction warfare isn't in good shape right now.
Yeah, there's been a lot of chat that is... I know very little about faction warfare. Feel free to contribute, guys. Spod and Karmen, if you have any opinions towards that. But I know very little about faction warfare. But I know there's been a lot of complaints that CCP have spent very little time attending to that.
I don't know a lot about faction warfare. I've not really been involved in that at all in my kind of whole time spent in the game. But I can understand why people are upset. It doesn't really feel like it's in a good place based on what I've seen and heard. But then again, it's kind of understandable that CCP haven't spent a lot of time on it because it doesn't seem like it actually has a huge amount of the game's population that really engage in it, which is a bit of a chicken and an egg problem, which is not a great place to be in. But yeah.
I do have a question for you, Karmen, and and just to give you a bit of context as well, like whenever I joined, I'm a member of Horde, a member of Corporation Capeth. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with them, being part of Pappy, and as they're called. But beforehand, I was very allergic to the idea of block warfare of any description. But I kind of promised myself that I would taste other aspects of the game, and there were very many positives and negatives. Gerg, you'll know a lot of my complaints about it, but I was curious to find out. Obviously, a lot of people called excuses and stuff like that, but with the war ending, there was a lot of chat that, like, because the income from the TTT thing came to an end, that was one of the biggest impacts. Could you validate or tell us a little bit more about that?
It's a big question.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, like, it was a pretty decent impact that particular change had, but like, I wouldn't say that was the only reason. There was definitely a few reasons, but that was one of the bigger ones, I would say.
What, like, it's just that the reason I ask a question, it just seems kind of a bit like a massive, like, point of failure if you rely on one single source of income, and if that is taken away, there is like a major impact. If that makes sense, you like we tell what is the kind of speculated membership of Test at the moment?
What is the speculated membership of Test at the moment?
People give you a variety of numbers. If Indy's in game right now, you could give me a better number. But what off the top of your head, what is the kind of
What's,
number we're
what's,
looking at?
what's the question you're asking? Like the
Like-
number of real people who are in test, or the amount of counts? Or
Yeah, what is the current count? I suppose would be the question.
last I heard, it was about 3,500 people, I believe.
Yeah. So there's plenty of people there. You would expect there would be some level of structure to rely on more than one single source of income. Does that make sense? The point I'm getting at.
Yeah, I mean, like, what can I say except we knew that was how it's going to be, and we rolled the dice, right? It's pretty much how it went.
Yeah, it was like.
There's a bigger conversation surrounding that, but largely the way that the sovereignty mechanics work in the game is that if you want to take space and hold it against someone who wants to live there, then you also have to live there. And of all the people in Pappy who were, able to do that, we were the people it was going to be the easiest for. And we were the people who were willing to make the call to do that. So we went to go and live, in Delve, and obviously, we're not going to have the same income from things like mining and ratting that we would have done if we'd lived back in the backlines, back in Esoteria and such, same as the other people in Pappy. And yeah, like our main source of income for a while was the TTT, right? Not just for us, but for others as well. But like someone had to do it, right? Otherwise, we were never going to be able to like maintain the ownership of the Sov, which is a huge deal. So we made the call, we rolled the dice, it didn't work out.
Yeah,
that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah. The what was the other question I was going to ask you? Fucking my memory again. I suppose. Well, I was talking to a couple of guys in CapF, and like there was a lot of debate of failure and a variety of other things who failed and who succeeded and all that stuff. But there was a theory that if you tried to take 1DQ, you would have to spend because the whatever the acronym is again shows you how kind of inexperienced I am with that stuff. What was it? It was something like 4 hours you would have to spend trying to take soft space in 1DQ.
Are you talking about the amount of time that it would take to reinforce the iHub in tie-dye?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can't remember exactly what the number is, but it's something like 10 hours. Like you had to continually have iHub, have your the entosis. You need to be continually entosising it for 10 hours if it's in deep tie-dye, which is great. Thanks, CCP.
Yeah, so like I certainly agree with the whole agreement, the whole idea that it being a stalemate, and no one like you find me a member of someone who plays Eves that is willing to do that, spend 10 hours sitting still. It's just not going to happen, really, is it? So yeah, no, it was more I was curious about it because I felt a bit like a kind of outsider, because a lot of people in a lot of the alliances are like very experienced in block. Like people have tried to explain the entosis to me like 4 times and I still don't fucking understand it. So I was just curious to find out the finer details of that. But I suppose what was the other stuff that I had notes on? Riker, did you have anything you wanted to bring up at all? You've been very quiet.
Yeah, I've just been doing some stuff in the back end, making sure the stream runs and all that fun stuff. I guess my question would be, now this is a future plans question, but now that Test is Test going to go through sort of like a period of rebuilding and trying to, I guess I'm asking like what's next for Test?
I mean, what would we need to rebuild? We still have our entire super fleet. We still have the majority of our Keepstars that we dropped. We have basically all of the significant strategic assets that we started the war with. The only caveat to that being that obviously we still have some war bonds to repay, because that was what paid for a lot of the Titan SRP, as was the same for every other major alliance in the war that lost hands. But, what do we need to rebuild? We still have most of our stuff.
So would you say that the next steps are just maybe have a period of peace?
we're taking a little bit of a time out, as I'm sure everyone else is. It was a pretty intense war, lasted a long time.
Weekly technical issues. It happens every week, really, didn't Riker? It's usually your mic, though.
He's dead, Jim.
Yeah, he's dead. So, in terms of activity at the moment, what are you planning to get back to, Spud? And obviously, don't even in terms of in-game, not your development thing, because no one really wants to hear about that.
I've got an alliance to run, unfortunately.
I know, that's right. You've got that Care Bear alliance, haven't you?
Fuck off. Yeah, we were actually having a great time until everything fell apart, which is the usual story.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little teeny weeny coalition started forming, and then it stopped starting to form, and then that was the whole story. It was great. So now I'm currently
Plenty of detail now.
figure out what are we going to do next. Very much in the holding pattern of what the hell do we do now, especially now that I know this excuse can only last so long, but while most of space is still changing hands rather rapidly after the end of war.
Mm-hmm.
And just waiting for something. Well, waiting is maybe not the right word, but looking for something interesting to pop up to do next with the alliance. But at the moment we're, perfectly happy and healthy as we are. It's just I think mining gets a bit boring after a while, doesn't it?
And I wouldn't know what you're talking about. I think I've got a procurer line around somewhere.
Well, fortunately, I'm not the one doing the mining. I just heard the cats that do it.
Oh, is that the CEO thing, Karmen? I'm pretty sure you'll be able to relate as well. Is if you're in charge of things, you don't have to explain yourself.
You don't have to, but it's generally good practice too. A lot of the time.
Yeah. Here's a good question for you, actually, Karmen. Obviously, as you said, the war was pretty intense, and the amount of time everybody hated their life after a while. But throughout the experience of the war, is there any sort of lessons that you've learned in terms of taking fleets out and stuff? Apart from the fact that everyone hates hacks now.
I mean, I wouldn't even know where to begin with that, because there's just so much of it that I can't really pinpoint a single thing. I mean, the war was a huge learning experience for basically every FC that was, moderately active during it. One of the biggest barriers in EVE to getting good as an FC is getting relevant experience, because it's actually very difficult to get good fights on a consistent and regular basis. So all of the active FCs got more experience in taking hack fights and big mainline war fights during that war than they would have done in probably 2 or 3 years otherwise, right? So that was a very valuable experience. And I wasn't even I'm not a storied long-term career player. I've not been around EVE for 10 years like some of these other dudes, right? I've been FCing for maybe 18 months, 2 years. So I learned a lot during that war as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what were those things that you win though? What were the things that you learn? It's just the same things you know already. It's just making less mistakes, basically.
I guess my question to you, Karmen, sorry if I mispronounced your name, would be what would you say is the most valuable thing you learned?
That's a really tough question, honestly. I genuinely don't even know where to pick a single thing about that I could point out and be that was the thing I learned from that war, right? I mean, for me personally, before the war happened, I had never really been in a high level kind of leadership position before. So for me, it was more to do with leadership and dealing with people without making them want to kill you. I learned a lot about people management during the war more than anything else. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there still think I'm a massive asshole, but I learned some things.
You would rather not know them, though. You would rather not know. But I kind of figured after a time going out in a lot of fleets, I started to hate the sight of my Union sitting in station. Would you like to see a change of meta? Because the whole concept of a heavy assault cruiser, I hate now because the amount of times you had to take Munins out in Eagles.
That's like a long conversation to have if you want to have like a true kind of well-rounded conversation on the topic of
Yeah.
you know, why are doctrines popular and like should there be more variety in doctrines and this kind of thing. I genuinely think like the balance of like the subcap doctrines in the game is in a quite good place now, and it's better than it's been for a long time. It's honestly one of the reasons that both sides in the war were able to fight in the way they did underneath the overlapping capital umbrella of both sides. But, you know, is there room for improvement? Yes. Obviously, there's always ways this can be better. Hacks are, you know, fitting a role where they are able to disengage effectively, and they also are able to still be like good ships to fight with, which is the main reason that people use them. Whatever ship fills that role that's going to be a role that is still needed for a long time to come yet, until the issues with capital versus subcapital balance in the game are kind of like in a better place, and kind of currently hacks are the solution to that. Like, I like where battleships are headed. Battleships have always been usable. They just have kind of a more narrow use case than a lot of the other ships in the game. It kind of sucks they've been made a bunch more expensive than they used to be. I don't really like that, but
Well, I think everyone's like stuff has been made more expensive across the board. I think is that like
interestingly, hacks weren't. Hacks are basically the same price as they were at the start of the war. Not really much difference in it.
I didn't know that. Because like I still recall a conversation. Helma was talking about how everyone has far too much ISK, so they've actively made an effort to try and stop that, and I think they've pretty much achieved that, considering how expensive a lot of stuff has become now. Like obviously with the industrial changes were the biggest impact.
I think they've begun rolling some of that stuff back on the sly without really telling people too much about it. But I also think that, you know, these changes, they're not going to last forever. They can't do, like, we've already seen the outcome of some of those changes and what they resulted in, and those kind of results are probably not the kind of things that CCP wants to see in the game.
Yeah, like I saw the scarcity thing, how demoralising that was for everyone. I didn't really know much about it because obviously I don't invest any time in mining, but I just remember the consistent complaining about scarcity. But like in terms of the industrial aspect of test, is there like how did you have to? Any idea how you obviously being part of the military? Do you know anything about how you had to adapt for the whole scarcity thing?
Well, I mean, scarcity hit us actually a lot less than other people in a lot of ways, right? Because for other people, they previously had the ability to go out and rock or mine and all this kind of stuff, right? They have this like massive mineral income potentially, and then scarcity removes that option that they had. And then for us, where we had chosen to effectively move our entire alliance into contested enemy space, where we didn't have the same ability to safely rock or mine all the time,
Yeah,
like it didn't really affect us at all, right?
yeah. I suppose you were in that transition, so you didn't have to make that impact. That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, the ability to not rock or mine didn't really affect us because we already didn't have the ability to rock or mine.
Yeah, that's fair. Have you been seeing much impacts from goons? Because you've obviously they've been going along with this motto of test is next and stuff. So have you been hearing much from them, or is it just
Absolutely fucking nothing. Like, for the amount they've been throwing out the narrative that test is next, like, where the fuck are they?
I was just waiting to throw that one at you there. See how triggered you would get. But do you believe they will follow through with that eventually?
Kind of yes, but kind of no as well. Like, I remember back to the days when, you know, the first World War B happened, and, you know, the big drama of World War B1 was CO2 flipping on the Imperium mid-fight. And then there was a long time where there was a big narrative of, you know, CO2's next. That was the big thing for a long time. And then, like, what actually happened in practice was nothing. Like, goons didn't really do anything at all to pursue or, you know, like, harass CO2 at all. and then CO2 of their own accord failed, and then Goons claimed credit for it. So what the situation is going to be now is, I imagine, probably a lot of the same. Where Test is currently situated, it's quite difficult for Goons to actually come and attack us with anything except like a big, super and tightened deployment like they did to Tribute, which I don't think they're in any position to do right now. So, you know, what they're going to do to follow us? Like, probably nothing is my guess.
That's certainly interesting, considering the consistent motto they've been going around with. Test is next. You see it a lot in, whenever I'm in gun space, you see it a lot in local with your test is next and all that stuff. And I'm just curious, because obviously we don't spend that. Like, actually, that was another question I had. In terms of your location, obviously it's a little bit more remote. Do you believe that was there a strategic decision behind that, I'm guessing?
Well, there's obviously a number of strategic considerations that were made. And if Goons do want to come and follow us, then like I welcome it. You know, like you know, it'll be good content for the game. It'll be good. Get some fights out of them. You know, we get to fight on our Keepstars, fight under our jammers, like see how they like it. Yeah, it'd be good. I'll be welcome to that. You know, I'd be excited to see that happen, but I don't think it'll happen anytime soon.
How about you, Spod? Do you want to take part in all this, or are you happy doing your Kerbal stuff? Sorry, you went quiet for a bit, so I thought I would. You went quiet for a little while, so I wanted to wake you up a little.
Oh, it's war talk, you know. I made a point of not getting involved and sticking to that for now. It's over. Test is somewhere. I don't know. I don't pay attention. Goons is where Goons always was. The end. That, to me, that's all there is to it.
There was a surprising broadcast. I'm pretty sure you saw it yourself, Karmen. There was a published broadcast. I don't know who the person was, but they were asking for the Alliance to contribute for their salvage, so they can deploy their Astrohouse, and because they didn't have enough salvage available to them to build the rigs. So obviously that's a sign that it has even the whole war period of time has had even bigger impact than we originally thought. Would you agree, Cam?
On the concept of has the war had a bigger impact than we thought? Yeah, probably.
But considering obviously they've asked the entire alliance to contribute, that's a good sign. It was like, because I think that was everyone's hope, really, after spending a year. You wanted to make a big impact on someone, at least, because we were all sitting around for too long, really, weren't we?
I think there's been a big impact on everyone who is involved in the war, right? And the idea that, you know, any of the alliances, like the main alliances who were involved in the war, came out of this financially unscathed or financially like relatively okay is really probably not true. Apart from like maybe Goons are kind of okay, but they're probably still not in a great place compared to where they were before. And if you kind of like see the signs, you can kind of read between the lines a little bit and see that that's true. Pretty much for every alliance, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of people were like Horde. For example, we had a Dread stimulus that was ended because of the financial impact as well. That was mainly to do with the TTT thing. But are you looking forward to this? Well, it's happening now, but the whole reset thing.
It's been on both sides of the fence as well, though, right? It's not just you know, the Pappy side of things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like in it themselves have said that they spent over 90% of what their saved ISK war chest was. You know,
Wow.
I believe in it actually had to issue a second round of war bonds after the war had ended to begin buying infrastructure to rebuild Fountain.
Yeah.
Goons as well, despite their crowing that they were, doing extremely well financially, have basically been asking for donations from line members on some of their like Twitch streams to buy Keepstars to drop them again in Delve, which is an indication that they are potentially not quite so financially sound as they might be making out.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that any of the Pappy alliances are, any better off. Like Tess certainly is, still working to repay their war bonds as everyone else is. Probably the people who came out of this the best financially, in the sense that they lost the least, would be Fraternity and PanFam.
Well, Frat were they had minimum involvement, really, didn't they?
I mean, they were certainly involved quite a lot in certain aspects of it, but they didn't have quite so much of a horse in a race as other people did. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. I was always convinced in terms of this the well-known, already replaced kind of attitude that goes out. I was always convinced that they had before they joined, they had some sort of brainwashing process before they did that, because they are consistent when it comes to that. I was always impressed. I was always entertained in local, where they always whenever they've been beat, or however many times they blew up their structures or whatever, they always maintained denial that it didn't hurt them at all. But it's, who knows, really. But yeah, I always found that strangely amusing. But I don't know, really. What do you believe would be the plans for the future once she's settling properly in your new location?
I mean, we're just going to wait and see, right? How this normally shakes out is that, every several years or so, there's a big war in Eve. And then, after the war ends, the geopolitical situation is kind of shaken up a little bit. And I believe that we're currently just kind of waiting to see where that settles and where it lands, right? There's probably still some major changes to happen on that scale yet in the next few months, I would imagine. But we're still sort of waiting for the dust to settle after the war, kind of thing, and we are going to evaluate where we are and what we need to do after that.
Yeah, it should be interesting. It makes, because I think we're right to bring things to an end for sure. But before we continue, last week something very close to my heart. There was World Suicide Prevention Date. So I won't go into it in depth because it's a bit of a distraction. But I suppose all we can really say is that nothing's too bad that you don't have anyone to talk to. You can come on here and talk to us. We're always available. Talk to your friends, anyone online, and there is always broadcast for reps as well. So always keep that in mind, because we've seen too many people succumb to, especially whenever the plague has happened, spending too much time on their own, isolated. So there's always someone to talk to. So don't deal with this life on your own if you're having trouble, guys. All right. So. But yeah, it's World Suicide Prevention Day, so I just wanted to mention that. That was something that is very close to my heart, because I had some experiences in life that have been unwelcome. But is there anything else you guys want to bring up before we close down for be less nervous and stuff? Is there anything else you guys want to talk about, or let us know what you're going to get up to in the future? Good talk, guys. A big congratulations to Riker as well, by the way. He got a new job. Would you consider it your dream job, Riker?
I mean, since I don't really want to go too much into it, it's a job, and I'm very excited for it. And I'm gonna be busy. Thankfully, I have a week off though, so I'm gonna spend some time, I guess, clean up my place and just get ready.
Well, big congrats.
Yeah, because it's. I'm not gonna say that it's. Well, okay. Technically, I would say yes, it is my dream job, but at the same time, there's going to be a lot of work, and it's. Yeah. My life's definitely going to take a turn.
Good, mate. Hopefully, we can still continue and do this for everyone. We haven't been here for a little while due to my work schedule, but I'm glad to be able to do this again. I think, thank you for coming, everyone. Spud, always a pleasure, my friend. Hopefully you've enjoyed the abuse that I've given you tonight.
Very welcoming. Makes me really, really want to come back.
Karmen, I hope you've enjoyed the interrogation tonight. Hopefully I'll get to meet you at Eve London if you're going to make it.
Yep, I'm going to be at Eve London. I'll see you there.
You certainly will. Riker, are you coming to Eve London?
Well, considering I live in the U.S. And yeah, that's expensive. We won't see each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weak
But-
excuse.
It's a disappointing excuse.
Listen, I'm already pulling strings to go to Vegas, so
Oh well, Vegas now. There's a place I wouldn't mind going actually. That would be quite exciting.
yeah. The last time I went with Teston. It was quite fun. So I'm
Well,
definitely excited to go back.
Buddy,
Hopefully,
I've already been to one place this year to lose all my money, and it was M2, so I'm not really sure Vegas is on the cards.
M2 was quite something. I was working that night, and I came home and a couple of Cap guys who was on comms. And I talked to a couple of them, and they were saying it was just it was one of the members lost 2 Titans in one night. That was that must have hurt badly. But I'm glad I have very little interest in capitals because that just sounds a miserable experience. Karmen, would you disagree?
I think miserable is possibly like over egging it a little bit, but it's. I think the experience of owning a capital in an alliance that uses capitals is mostly not really what happens. Like people don't really get sold on like what the actual experience is.
It's usual station ornaments more than anything else. As far as
Yeah,
I've
I mean, like you
far as
buy
I've
a
seen
dread,
anyway.
you want to get into a dread fight, right? And then what actually happens is like you form up like 40, 50 times before you get into a dread fight, and you just
Yeah.
sit in the station doing nothing.
Yeah, I've hated it for a while, so it's been pretty horrible. But hopefully that'll change soon. I doubt it will, because like with all the prices of dreads going up, it's what is it like a fully fitted now is like 6 billion or something like that now, isn't
Oh
it?
yeah, more than that, I
T2.
think.
Yeah, T2. I think I've got one lying around somewhere, but
End of the day, right? If they happened every day, they wouldn't be memorable.
yeah, I suppose. Yeah, you think about it that way. I suppose that's far too positive for my liking, Carmen. I'm Scottish. This is Presbyterian attitude. You're supposed to bring misery and pain on each other, and I'm not used to this positivity.
Being Mr. Positive is, I don't think, anything that I've ever been accused of in the past. So it's new territory for me, pal.
Fair enough, man. But yeah, thank you everyone for coming. Hopefully this hasn't been too terrible. I will get better at this, but yeah, I've been kind of improvising a lot of stuff. Hopefully you've enjoyed yourself. Carmen, hopefully you can go and have a lie down after that interrogation that I give you. I'll have you lie down, get a shower and get all that sweat off you and stuff.
Oh man, like I'm fine. Don't worry about me.
No, it's like a lot of curious questions because like the problem like I saw when it came to taking part in a lot of fleets, like I experienced the true the true F1 monkey experience is like if you deviate from anchoring on your FC and pressing F1, that is almost a criminal act. So like that it was really hard for me to accept because I've resorted to becoming a kind of brainless F1 monkey right now. You're also kind of like most of the information as to what's going on is hidden from you as well. You just to kind of show up and doing what you're told. So there was a lot of questions went unanswered over the period of time during the war. So certainly I appreciate you giving me as much information as you're probably allowed to give me. So that answers a lot of questions for me as well.
Well, I don't really ask for permission. I'm kind of in that nice place where I can just kind of choose myself now. I kind of know what's probably appropriate and what's probably not appropriate. And maybe I stray a little bit too far on one side of the line, sharing a little bit too much. But Yeah. What I really don't like this thing as well with like the way these large wars are fought is that from a line member perspective, you don't really ever see most of what happens in these big fights. Like I think it's a really bad thing for the line members, but from the leadership perspective, it's kind of it feels unavoidable, and I don't know if there's a better way to get around that. I think it's a problem.
Yeah, like that's it's something to kind of think about because literally there is no innovation. It's just like as far as I can see, there is literally no innovation involved. It's just a case of spamming hacks and do what you're told. There isn't really any kind of ability to engage your brain cells, and it was really really difficult for me because I was part of a corporation where it was entire opposite. It was like a lot of blopsing and you had to do things to the best of your ability, and you kind of got to contribute a lot of shit fits and things like that. Although I do have no imagination, so I wasn't able to do that. But it's surprisingly difficult to kind of adapt to that environment because it is two extreme opposites.
Yeah, they are two extreme opposites, and they're probably never going to be equitable in any kind of meaningful way, right? Like having like an exceptionally high level of player skill is never going to be a thing that scales to a large number of players in a way that you can actually use in a meaningful way, like at all. But, one of the things that's a valuable and important thing to learn, when you're kind of like a leader of a large group of people, is how to not rely on that. Basically, it's kind of how to bring the people who are really bad up to the same level everyone else is at, rather than trying to like get everyone to the toppest level, right? Because they're never going to reach that.
Well, you do have a certain caveat when it comes to Horde, though, is because obviously they're well known to be very new guy welcoming of your NBI ships, etc., just to get an understanding. So you have to make some room for that, I suppose. But and being a member of CapF are kind of different from that. But anyway, we'll not go into that. So yeah, thank you everyone for coming. Hopefully, it hasn't been too a miserable experience. But I'll probably end up doing this next week because Riker will make me do it. But hopefully we'll all see you next week if time allows. And Riker, do your outro. He just went all quiet on me again.
Well, thank you everyone for special thank you to all of our guests that showed up. If you're watching this show and you like what you see, New Eden Post streams Eve-related content throughout the week, including Trash Talk Tuesday on Tuesday, Lasers and Lace on Thursday. I'm probably forgetting some other shows.
There's a Saturday version of Trash Talk Tuesday that happens in AUTZ.
Well, that and Between Two Keepstars on Sunday. So, yep, everyone, thank you for coming. Don't forget to bubble wrap your Keepstars, and we'll see you next time.